Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Year of Underrated Stephen King podcast. My name is Kim C. I am a university fiction teacher, and je suis the captain of this one-woman Stephen King podcast, sailing all the underrated shores, perilous coves, rocky reefs, and this pirate metaphor has gone a bit too far. But it's okay because it's Halloween 2025. Let the mischief commence. The veil is thin and the spirits are afoot. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the final Constant Reader interview in a stellar trio of Constant Reader interviews from the last few weeks. My guest today is the last jewel in the crown, and boy, does he shine bright. Today's Constant Reader interview guest of honor is a horror fiction connoisseur with a wonderfully rich and informative social media platform, celebrating and plugging the latest and greatest from horror fiction authors one should stay abreast of. But for whatever reason, buddies, I can't quite put my finger on it. He's so much more than that. The account for GeorgesReads is super special, my dudes, and I don't exactly know why, but it is. Take my word for it, you'll observe it when you check them out, and you'll feel the same way I do, I promise. I'm right, just trust me. It could be because at the moment, Mr. George Dunn is a journalism student in the north of England, and I'm pretty sure, hope I'm correct, I hear he's close by to a friend of the podcast, Neil McRoberts' neighborhood from Talking Scared. Hop, skip, and a jump, I believe. Therefore, I could be besotted for all things GeorgesReads because I'm a teacher, and George seems like the best student any educator could ask for. Passionate, hardworking, insightful. That could be the reason for the extra specials, something, the je ne sais quoi of GeorgesReads. Pretty sure that's it. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, not only is George the horror bookstagrammer and book talker of your dreams, he's also a very well-read constant reader with a rather sophisticated reading palette that makes me very happy. So happy, in fact, George gets a new label of Constant Reader Bestie, as he and I are in the same Stephen King canoe, treasuring many of the same titles. It's a huge bonus. Let us now commence with the spooky magic of this special day, Halloween 2025, with a man who has a terrific list for all of you in terms of what you should read. Please enjoy my Constant Reader interview with Mr. George Dunn of GeorgesReads. Sweet people listening out there, what an honor it is to introduce my Constant Reader interview guest today. This is Mr. George Dunn from GeorgesReads. Hello, George. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, the pleasure is mine. I'm very excited, and unfortunately, I always over-caffeinate before these Constant Reader interviews.
Don't we all?
Yes, so do pardon if I'm talking a little fast. I'm going to do my best to be professional and slow it down, but it is such a joy to have you as a guest. I love your stuff. I am such a fan. For someone, I'm not exactly sure what your age is, but I know you're younger than me, and so that just gives me such hope for the future, for the well-read youth out there.
Well, I mean, thank you. I also am massively appreciative of the podcast, and the guests on it are amazing always, so I'll try my best to live up to expectations. But yes, thank you for having me again. It's great to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so before we go any further, I just want you to remind listeners out there, if they haven't found your accounts yet, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do on the interwebs.
So I am a mess. I'm everywhere. I probably need to pick a lane. So my name is George Dunn. I am at GeorgesReads on every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, TikTok, BlueSky, everywhere but X, because I hate Elon Musk. And then I also review for a website called Fanfi Addict. I review for the cool, edgy horror side called Fear for All. So you can find full rambles there, stuff that doesn't fit in Instagram captions. And then on top of that, I also have a podcast I describe as whimsical but inconsistent. It's called The Terrorium. It's based off of Substack, so there's a corresponding newsletter that I don't use. So feel free to listen to that at some point if you want. There's no schedule, there's no regular uploads. Things just happen when they happen, and sometimes things work out. But yeah, that's me. I think that's it.
Very nice. Where do you find time to sleep, Mr. George?
I don't do much of that. I'm a nocturnal beast. Yeah.
I got that vibe right away. I was like, oh yeah, he's not getting 8 hours.
Oh no, never.
All right, excellent. As this is a Stephen King podcast, we are going
Mhm.
to kick us off with our very first question asking about where your history with Stephen King started. So if you could please let the audience out there know how old were you and what was your first Stephen King title?
I was 11, I think, when I read Carrie for the first time. So I was just on that precipice of being able to say I had I read many Stephen King books when I was too young, and it was just that simple. But then I started secondary school, which is 11 to 16 for those who aren't in the UK. And it just kind of sapped my love of reading. I had a dip just as I was about to unlock a whole new realm of horror literature. That went away. I stopped reading for entertainment. It became a chore. And then I came back to King and horror in general 4 or 5 years ago, and I read Misery. And then, because I can't enjoy anything casually, we're here now, and I've read a few since.
Very, very nice. Oh my God, 11. 11.
Yeah,
It's not bad because 11, as you know, that's how old the kids are in Derry. So you're fine. It's fine.
if they can fight Pennywise, I think I can handle Carrie. But hey, it's for you to judge how well I'm doing now.
I think you're in good company. The majority of people out there read King way too young.
Absolutely.
Second question is not that we want to number shame anyone, but for our own knowledge out there, what's your King count? How many would you say you've read? Are you someone who's read everything or still got a lot to tackle?
I've still got a lot to tackle. I like to think I've read most of the big ones because I am a sheep. But no, I think I'm at around 20, just under 25. So not all of them. But yeah, so I've done most of the big ones. I am a bit of a horror purist, unfortunately. I try not to be, but things that I've not touched are kind of like The Eyes of the Dragon. I've never really considered picking up. I know it's a favorite for lots. It just doesn't call to me. And then kind of horror light titles, or what I assume to be. I haven't read them. I don't know. But Hearts of Atlantis, things like that, I haven't picked up. But I've done most of the big ones.
Very, very nice. Those will be a treat way down the road when you get there. I
Yeah.
think it's great that you have this tunnel vision of horror, and that's where we're at. I love that. Very good.
Yeah, I try to branch out every now and then. So I will do them one day. It'll happen. I'll tick them all off.
The writing's really great. Eyes of the Dragon is fascinating, and it technically speaking, amongst the fans, I think that was the catalyst that brought us Misery.
Ah, well, okay. It's moved up many spaces now. So
Simply from reader reaction, there was a lot of
yeah.
Annie Wilkes out there writing to Mr. King after that one. So I did want to ask about observing the world of horror as you are very, very plugged into. What have you noticed throughout your experience in terms of King titles that you feel need way more spotlight? They just need all the attention. And then those that you feel are a little overdone and maybe they don't need as much celebration.
I think that revival is really good. I know people bang on about classic King and, his stuff in the 21st century is a step down, but I think revival was 2014, right? And that was amazing. I think Joyland is another favorite of mine, and not strictly horror. So look at me go, branching out already. And then one that I was thinking about the other day, actually, is not one that I would say I love, but one that I think is overly hated, perhaps. would be thinner. I don't think it's that bad. I think people detest it because it is not a classic King. He's known for his likable character, his compelling main characters, but people love an unlikable main character outside of King. I love an unlikable main character, and Billy Halleck is nothing if not unlikable. And I think it's full of dread, and I think if you go in without thinking about King and the rest of his body of work, if you look at it in isolation, it's a wonderful book, I think. So that is my hot take as well. Thinner is okay.
Oh, I love that. I've not heard that before, George. I love that.
Yeah.
That's encouraged me to put it higher on the list. That's a really good recommend.
I think, you have this unlikable character, this horrible thing is happening to him. It's really cathartic, it's really entertaining. It's just not what people think of when they think of King, and that's fine.
That's so cool. That's so fresh. I'm really excited about that answer. Speaking of unlikable characters, we're going to jump to such a huge question. It's so
Okay.
fun. And we're going to ask about your favorite villains.
Okay. So I really do, first of all, love whatever menacing entity Pennywise and Randall Flagg are. I think it's iconic and utterly horrifying, and I love the idea of a monster that can shapeshift. I think it's really scary, but this applies to my horror reading more broadly as well. I love a human monster more. I find it infinitely more scary. And, when I first thought about it, I thought, Annie Wilkes, Margaret White, definitely. But I don't know if you've read The Dead Zone, but for me, it's Greg Stilson, who is just horrible. And, The Dead Zone was what, 19...
79?
Yes, yeah, 1979. But it's so apt. In fact, it's like a Simpsons moment when you look at America specifically today. And yeah, he's human and he's sleazy and he's greasy, and I find him utterly terrifying. Especially because he knows what he's doing as well. Margaret and Annie are not redeemable characters, but you can kind of start to try and justify it with the kind of mental aspect of it. But Greg Stilson knows what he's doing and is evil. So yes, my least favorite villain. I love to hate him.
Wonderful choice. Wonderful choice, George. Oh my God. Ew. Yeah, sadly, Greg Stilson is very, very real.
Oh yes, there are Greg Stilsons everywhere.
Greg Stilsons are everywhere. That they are. He is truly, I hope for people who haven't read The Dead Zone that they do read it and
Me too.
realize, oh my God, wow. How could he have predicted this?
Yeah, this is a spoiler for what may come, but The Dead Zone is my favorite Stephen King novel. So, yes, I would implore people to read The Dead Zone.
Yeah, okay, we'll put a bookmark in that and we'll circle back. I'm
Yeah,
so excited to hear that because Johnny Smith just rips my heart out.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we've got some villains that have popped up, very lovely choices. And so I want to talk about, as someone who is as well read as yourself, King endings. I know that most bibliophiles just enjoy the
Hmm.
journey. They really, really like indulging in where the story is taking them. However, sometimes after a long time, an ending might not be very satisfying. Have you had that experience with King before, or are you just somebody like myself who has a lot of radical acceptance?
This is a hard one. So, not single-handedly, I don't think any King book has an ending that's gone, oh, well, what was the point in that? But what I will say is I've read many a Stephen King book now where an explosion happens and fixes everything. So, I'd say on a individual basis, no, but I'm getting a little bit tired of the explosions. There's one in The Shining, The Stand, Dreamcatcher. There's one in the middle of it. We don't need to blow everything up, I don't think. I, I know people talk about Cell and Tommy Knockers, neither of which I've read, as pretty shocking in the ending department, but they complain about the whole thing. So I'll report back when I get to those, maybe. But no, not on an individual basis. I've never had one that's truly upset me.
Good, good. I'm glad that you haven't had a dud yet. One of these days, you and I are going to have a little conversation about Under the Dome. And then,
Okay.
because I'd like to know your thoughts. I think you'd probably have a lot of wisdom about that one. But you are very correct. There's a lot of fire and a lot of explosions.
Hmm.
Very fair assessment.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about protagonists and some heroes and folks that in King's catalog have received some extra spotlight. For example, Danny Torrance from The Shining, who's 5 in that novel, and then we see him again in his 40s in Doctor Sleep. And then, of
Hmm.
course, Holly Gibney has a big old set of novels behind her. Is there anyone in the King universe that you would give that prequel or sequel spotlight to?
I'll tell you, I don't think maybe an entire sequel of her own, but I would love to see how poor Trisha McFarland is coping. Barely love Tom Gordon. I don't think I'd be okay after spending that much time in the woods, hallucinating and fighting off bears. So, yeah, I would love to kind of see her appear somewhere in the multiverse a little later down the line, and see where she's at, how she's doing. I imagine not well, but yeah.
Oh, great answer. That makes me really happy. I adore the girl who loved Tom Gordon. Thank you for mentioning it. It does not get enough love, in my opinion.
Yeah, I always say it's a solid place to start with King. I think, people talk about Carrie a lot, and I agree. But I think Girl Who Loves Tom Gordon is a pretty good starting point as well. It's pretty slim.
My heart is so happy to hear this. I think that that's such a wonderful recommendation because
Yeah.
over the years, it's just seen as such a little speed bump of a King novel.
Mm,
But
yeah.
there's so much in there, I think. I think there's a ton of great stuff.
Yeah. I know people kind of complain about the baseball aspect, and I'm from the UK. I don't even know what baseball is, but you just overlook it. I can move past it. You can too. It's fine.
I mean, there are cricket similarities, yeah?
Yeah, I'm not much of a sportsman, so I'm terrible to ask about any kind of rules of any game. But yeah, I think it's the same principle. You hit a ball with a bat and do some running. So
Exactly. That's like 90% of it.
yeah,
Perfect.
all good.
That makes me so happy. I agree with you. I think that Trisha, it would be nice to know what that experience, how that contributed to her adulthood.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like a little baby final girl of the woods.
She is. Yeah, she's a great character. Too overlooked.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Oh my goodness. Okay. I gotta get off the joy of that question because it made me so happy. Because you are a busy reader, George, and also a student and podcaster and all the things, what is your King reread experience look like? Have you ever reread them, and which ones get that second read?
So, not many. I, as a principal, don't reread things, but I will reread Carrie because it's nostalgic and it's slim, and I can. And for such a small book, I think my edition's 240 pages. There are so many moral quandaries in there, and I find myself empathizing differently every time. Sue Snell and whether I forgive Sue Snell or not keeps me up many a night. And Margaret White I grapple with sometimes too, although I've never considered forgiving her. But yeah, I mean I've reread The Stand a couple of times, but not that often because it's massive. But there are such long gaps between that. I feel like I'm reading it for the first time every time I read it. But yeah, no, Stephen King, who doesn't need my compliment or praise, should be impressed that I have reread any of his books because I don't do that aside from modern classics and classic classics. And The Stand and Carrie, it seems. So yeah.
Very nice. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. He is
Yeah.
probably very honored. I think that that's extraordinary.
Oh, he's probably listening, thrilled.
I just watched the 1976 Carrie film by Brian De Palma, and I hadn't seen it in a very long time. And so Carrie is freshly on my mind.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the novel because I remember a lot about it. And I was leading into a question, of course, one's brain.
Well, I have an anecdote if you'd like, whilst you think.
Yes.
So I think the reason I read Carrie at the very formative age I did was because Carrie was a figure in my life before that even happened. Because my mum, at the age of, I don't know how old she would have been, but went to her much more relaxed auntie's house, and her cousins put it on, the film, the Brian De Palma film, and traumatized her completely at the age of 10 or something like that. And it was something she always referenced as when horror was discussed. And I thought one day at the age of 11, you know what? I'm going to read this. So that was my little form of rebellion, was reading a book, which says a lot about a character, I suppose. But yeah, Carrie and me have always been always been adjacent.
Yes, very, very connected. So I understand that book rebellion, side tangent really quick loop de loop through the dark black forest here. My rebellion was of the like X-rated erotica kind. That was sort of where I headed towards. I don't know why. Just teen girl stuff, I guess. It was a slippery slope. But did you have parents who would allow you to read whatever you wanted, or were they strict about stuff? Did you sneak stuff?
I don't think I told them I was reading Carrie at the time, but I don't think they'd have shut it down.
Okay.
They were always very, as long as I was reading and reading for entertainment, no, that's a good thing. And, my mum doesn't love to hear about all the details of the books that I read, but she is completely fine with it. They both are, my mum and dad. So, yeah, very lucky. I didn't read Goosebumps growing up, not because they were kept from me, I just didn't. So, yeah, a very chill reading relationship with reading and my parents, luckily.
Beautiful. Very, very glad that you had very accepting,
Yeah.
encouraging parents for the written word. Follow-up question to that. What would you say this is a terrible expression, it's a terrible euphemism to use, but I'm going to use it anyway. What would you say was your gateway drug that allowed you to become such a horror fiction fanatic?
Well, I mean, obviously, we carry at 11, but then we had a big gap. And the book that I read I can't even remember what prompted me to pick it up. Probably social media, to be honest, which I know is boring and predictable. But The Troop by Nick Cutter was the book. And it was also the same book that I first posted on Instagram in June 2022, 3 maybe. So, yeah, The Troop by Nick Cutter was the gateway drug.
Very, very nice. I've heard great things about that one.
It's grotty. It's gross and foul, and I'd recommend it, yeah.
Excellent. Good to know. Good to know. Okay, we are returning back to our lovely list, our stack of Stephen King questions. So I wanted to ask about, you mentioned this a little bit about recommending Tom Gordon to non-King readers, but what are some other ones you throw out there to folks? Because I know it in university zones such as yourself, Mr. King is not
Mm.
always welcome at the table. And so oftentimes, myself included, Neil McRobert has also been very vocal about King in academia as well. How would you encourage somebody who's either a naysayer to King, thinking he's just genre tomfoolery, or
hmm
someone who's genuinely curious and has never read King?
Okay, so I mentioned The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. I just think it's so short and straightforward that you can't get too lost in it. It's great. I also biased towards Carrie because it was the first he wrote, it was the first I read, and it served me well. I think it's a great example of emotionally intelligent and empathetic writing. So all the good King bits. But a bit more of a rogue one would be Joyland. I think it showcases his. I mean, I think there's something intimate about watching someone come of age. You can't help but get yourself invested. And I told you earlier that my mum is horror averse. She doesn't care that I read it, but she won't. But I made her read Joyland, and she enjoyed it very much. So yeah, I think Joyland, especially if you're not into horror already, I feel Joyland is a good place to start with King and maybe kind of getting into horror adjacent as well. So yeah, those would be my three.
Oh, beautiful. I am the hugest Joyland fan.
Good.
Hearing this book mentioned gives me wings. I'm so thrilled.
I think it might have been the first book that made me shed a tear, an actual tear. Yeah, Joyland. What a book.
It really is extraordinary, isn't it? It just
Yeah.
has everything. I'm so glad you loved it.
Yeah, me too. I was skeptical going. I was like, that's not really horror, is it? Being the snob I am, but it exceeded all expectations mightily.
I also just love, I've read it several times. Joyland's probably the book I've read the most because in certain classes I teach portions of it. I think it's perfect in terms of editing. There's not a hair out of place. It's just so tight and succinct. So I
Yeah,
love it structurally, but then as a story, I feel like, wow, what a nourishing meal that story is.
yeah, absolutely.
Thrilled beyond thrilled that you know this. Like, you are Okay, I am having to really contain all my excitement, George, because you are mentioning some of my all-time favorites, which bring a lot of joy anyway when people bring them up, but you're just like one after another. Revival, Tom Gordon, Joyland. I'm like, oh my God, George is killing it.
We're clearly on the same wavelength, which is always good.
Absolutely, absolutely. I won't ask for your astrological data because I don't want to be judged in that regard yet, but just know I'm curious, George.
So,
Oh, beautiful.
yeah.
Wonderful. We love it. We love it. Okay. For all of George's busy extracurriculars, if there was some sort of magical portal where you could go away for the weekend or the summer
Mhm.
and get stuck in a Stephen King setting, where would you like to hang out? It could be a weekend, a couple weeks. It's your magical portal. What setting would you like to spend some time in?
So off of the bat, anything but the Overlook, because that is quite creepy. I think I'd like to see somewhere in a parallel universe, just for my own curiosity. So somewhere in Orworld, but then I would leave pretty promptly through my magical portal. If I was stuck for a longer time, I would go with the very basic answer of Derry, I think, somewhere in Maine anyway. Take this obligatory selfie outside his house and that kind of thing. I've never been to the States, so maybe when it simmers down a little bit, I will go. And I'm very excited to shop in Target. Feels a rite of passage that I've yet to have. So yeah,
Love this for you, George. Yes, don't come now. I mean, you can
no.
do whatever you want, but I wouldn't. I mean, I'm stuck here, so I wish I wasn't. I wish I could go where you live. Anyway, quick follow-up question. We're talking about Overlook, which is full of ghosties. We've got cutthroats and bandits in I almost called it Middle Earth in Midworld. What are your favorite horror tropes and which ones scare you the most? For me, slashers. I have a hard time with them. I do my best, but I'm scared.
So it's kind of what I mentioned before about the monsters. Anything that could happen down the road from me will terrify me generally more than anything else. To give a more concrete answer, I think a haunted house and a demonic possession. If we're talking supernatural, it's a possession that gets me, which I know is a very standard answer that lots of people offer, but it's so terrifying, the idea of not being in control of your own body, of just the imagery, the religious element of it. It's all horrifying. So I would say possession stories get me, and if not that, then real life, tangible horror.
Follow-up question. Circling back to your visiting the States, is there any place in particular that you want to experience aside from Target shopping?
Anywhere there's a target is fine. No, I've made a whole bunch of friends all over the States who I would love to visit, and I wouldn't feel right having not visited whilst being on the same mass of land. I know you know Anna, so I'd love to head down to Louisiana or up to wherever it is.
You're right. It's down.
Yeah. It's definitely south when I'm thinking about the yeah. Yeah, I maybe I'd do a little tour. I can't think of any one place that I would want to stay in. I'll just move around, float around a bit.
Beautiful. I definitely recommend Las Vegas so you can get your Randall Flag energy going.
This is a good point. Yes, definitely.
As someone who is a devout follower of Mother Abigail, I would have a really tough time choosing Boulder over Vegas, just so you know. I might do a pit stop in Vegas on the way to Boulder and hopefully not get captured or imprisoned, you know?
Sounds like a plan.
That's my plan for sure. Yes, I really hope that you get to do a US tour in the future.
One day.
Yeah, someday. Someday when it's not this. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know when that will be, but hopefully soon. That'll be our Christmas wish.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Okay, we are moving right along. I would like to ask you about King on film, television and film adaptations. We mentioned Brian De Palma's Carrie, but do you have other favorites or ones that you don't care for as much?
I definitely need to get better at watching King adaptations because I've not watched many. I don't think I've ever watched a series adaptation. But I think even if I'd watched them all, I think Misery would still prevail for me. I think Kathy Bates's performance is just as good as it gets. I think Annie Wilkes is such a complex, unhinged character who would be incredibly difficult to portray, and it's done very well. And I've watched many far more horrifying horror film since. But every time that, spoiler by the way, every time that sledgehammer gets brought on down, my palms sweat and I look away. There's something about it. I think Paul Tremblay talks about it with Jaws, where it's not the scariest thing he's watched anymore, but it still gets the heart racing. There's something about it. And in terms of what I don't like so much, I don't think the new It films are objectively bad fully. I don't love the portrayal of Bev in them. I think they kind of make her into a bit of a damsel in distress, but she's one of my favourite female King characters, so we'll discuss it later, I assume. But yes, not a big fan of it in how it portrays Bev, but it's still alright.
Very nice, lovely list. If you're
Yeah.
able to get your hands on it in the future, I recommend, I think you'd really enjoy it. It's called Storm of the Century. Have you heard of that one?
I don't think so.
Okay. King penned the screenplay. It's older. It came out in 1999 on American television, and it was 3 nights, I believe. So I think it's like a 3 to 4 hour miniseries in total. And it's on Little Tall Island, which is where Dolores Claiborne is from. And it's the town of Little Tall bracing for a huge winter storm. There is this supernatural entity named Andre Lenoge who appears on the island and just tells the city, or the island, the folk, give me what I want and I'll go away. And it is very, very creepy.
It's not ominous at all. Yeah.
Super ominous. It is full of secrets. I think you'd really, really like it.
I think I would too, by the sounds of it. Hey, have you watched The Long Walk yet? The new one?
Yes, I survived it, George.
I have not, and I'm quite desperate to, so I'd love to pick your brain. How does it live up?
Oh, God, how do I? Yes, it did.
Okay, good.
I'm excited for you to see it, George. It's wonderful. Have you read that one yet?
Yes, a good long while ago, but yes.
Okay. Very close to the story. Couple changes as Hollywood does, but I feel they had the integrity of the book locked in. It's just very, very tonally heavy to where thinking about it, I just feel like wounded and sick because it's really graphically violent. There is naturally, of course, the novel is bleak and hopeless. But what I will say is it's so well done. It belongs on the shelf with the greats, for sure.
Good, good. And can you see the Hunger Games likeness to it? Is it obvious?
And that's a great question. The difference is like the battle royale is they're killing each other, and there's a little bit of that in this. Like there's a little bit of sabotage, or one can infer it as sabotage. But for the most, it's just this dystopian murder walk, this death march, literally. And so I feel like the Hunger Games stuff, it's so bleak and stripped down. The razzle dazzle of the Hunger Games films, I didn't think about too much, but I don't know. I might have missed stuff. I was too busy crying, George.
Oh dear. Okay, well, I'll prepare myself emotionally and report back.
I am a crier in general, and this was almost the limit of public crying. We're getting into like the loud wailing where you have to cover your mouth with napkins.
Wow.
I was close. Close. I can keep it quiet and reserved with just silent tear drips, but we were getting close to the wails. It was bad.
Well, I'm glad it was narrowly avoided.
Same. But yes, highly encourage if you get a chance. Just, I was going to say have a cocktail or have a bevy before, but then I'm like, no, just bear witness. Just go in sober.
All right.
And then have one after.
Have a few after, by the sounds of it. Yeah.
Yes, mandatory pints, a couple jars. You need some after. Let's talk about The Dark Tower, George.
Okay.
Really quick caveat. I have not finished my journey yet. I'm sorry. I have just finished book 6, Song of Susanna. So I have not yet read book 7. I do not know how The Tower ends. So if you could please be so kind as to avoid spoilers for me, I appreciate you. But this question is just asking your thoughts on the tower.
So you may be pleased to know that you are doing better than me because I am only up to Wizard and Glass. So as I said, as I keep referencing, I'm a bit of a horror purist. I didn't think I'd like it. The fact that I've made it past the Gunslinger says a lot in its favor. I will say I'm not sure that the Gunslinger is King's best work. I think it's akin to kind of. I mean, I know I leapt to the defense of Thinner earlier, but I think it's akin to that in that we don't see lots of this emotional intelligence and depth and great character work that we do with lots of his other stuff, including his debut. So there's that. But I'm gonna, after my brief rant, I'm gonna finish it off with the cliche of it just get better. Stick with it. But yeah, I think the Dark Tower is momentous, and I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to finishing it at some point.
I'm with you, George. At some point, I'll finish
Yeah.
it too. I'm excited for you, though. Where are you at with Wizard and Glass?
So I've done Wizard and Glass,
Oh, okay, perfect.
and it's been my favorite from the tower so far, I think. I don't know if it gets better or worse from here. I thought the first, what's the second one called?
Drawing of the three.
Yeah, I thought the first two were fine, and then we've been on an upwards trajectory since, so we're doing okay.
You and I are in the same canoe, George. That's how I felt. Gunslinger 1 was barely tolerable until the end, and then I really, really appreciated
Yes.
it. And then Drawing of the Three is just like an 80s explosion movie.
More explosions,
More
goodness
ex-
me.
explosions, drugs, New York City, fast paced. It's just wild. It is so wild, but at least it was had momentum. And then I'm with you. Suddenly, everything seems to gel together with the wastelands. Everything
Yeah,
comes together with our quartet, and they're actually traveling together, and this group is created.
yeah,
That's basically when I started to enjoy myself as well.
yeah. I'm just getting there. I'm starting to process the world building, which I think is the issue for me with fantasy. But I've got it, I think, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it now rather than dreading it, which is good.
Yay! Okay. We'll have to chit chat when you get further because, George, okay, so book 6, I had to read twice because it is in all caps. What the hell? The lore gets really ramped up and it does get a
Okay.
bit challenging. And I'm with you. I'm not a huge fantasy sci-fi genre reader. I appreciate it
Mm.
in small doses, but I struggled. It's incredibly rewarding and worth the journey. But book 5, you're going to love Wolves of the Kala. Granted, I am very biased because I'm a desert girl and we've got cowboy DNA. It's very Western, which is
Okay.
nice. And it's similar to Wizard and Glass. It's like that same sort of cowboy atmosphere, which is delightful. I'm very excited for you, but book 6 is a doozy. I'm just going to say it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm glad because you lost me when you started talking about the law, but then you won me back at the end. So I'm still excited for now.
Good. They're all so unique. I think now that I'm standing on the edge of book 7 and I'm looking back at the 6, they're all so unique,
Yeah.
fantastically unique, which many agree that Wizard and Glass is their favorite. And some readers out there of King even place it as like their top 5 King novels, which
Mm.
it's huge. So I'm glad that you finished it.
Me too. Felt very accomplished afterwards. We're hanging on to that for the next 4. Is it 4? 4 left.
Yes, yes, there you
Yes.
go. Yes. God, I'm terrible at math. I could not even add, George. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Let me count on my fingers. Good grief. Okay. Now that we've sort of jumped in with the tower, I want to look at Stephen King friendships, couples, teams. Who are some of your favorites that you think about from time to time?
My favorite relationship generally ever, and I'm sorry because I think this is you have a more specific question that this would answer down the line, but I'm going to ruin it because for me the most beautiful relationship that there is ever is that between a man and his dog, or a pet generally, but a man and his dog. I did plug to you before we start recording Good Boy by Neil McRobert,
Yeah.
and I think I'm going to do it now as well. It proves my point if you don't believe me. So that kind of relationship is my favourite in horror literature generally and within King. So Kojack and Stu would be a great pair. But yeah, that bond warms my heart forever, and I will always gun for the dog.
Oh, so nice. I love that answer. I've not heard it. Thank you. It's so sweet. And you're absolutely correct. The boy and his dog.
Yeah, there's no better bond.
And Kojak is, gosh, he's great. He's
Yeah,
just so great. He's so great. He gets his own chapter in The Stand. He's just so great.
fully deserved. In fact, he should have more chapters in the stand.
Right. And he really, I love a dog that saves their master,
Yeah,
risks so much danger.
you don't deserve them.
It's quite true. Absolutely.
Yeah,
The hard part of reading Stephen King is, unfortunately, a lot of dogs, as you know, George, don't make it,
yeah, yeah.
endure very tragic fates. And as an animal lover, I'm really haunted by them. And I kind of keep a little mental cemetery in my heart reading King. And I think about all the dogs that we've lost because that's just who I am.
I don't think I've ever been as bothered by a human death in literature as I have been by any dog ever. So it's rough. I don't know why I read Stephen King because I just get upset every time. But hey ho.
I think it goes back to what King Kong, the film King Kong, it says beauty killed the beast. We're
Yeah.
always going to be the moth to the flame because it's great and it's beautiful, even though it hurts
Yeah. And Good Boy by Neil McRobert will hurt you, by the
us.
way. You should read it. If you are self-flagellating, then go for it.
I 1,000% know that Neil is gonna bring the pain. I know. I'm so excited to read his story. I'm so thrilled for him. So thank you for recommending Neil's book out there.
I listened to an interview with him. I think Anna was the interviewer the other week, and they're talking about handling dogs in literature delicately rather than cruelly. And he handles it very sensitively, but he said, and I quote, "It will make you cry, bitches." So, and I feel that sums it up. So I just reiterate that.
Not surprised at all by that answer. I know that Neil, at the end of the day, will go for the throat
Oh,
as
yes.
tenderly as possible as you're being strangled. Yeah. But we love McRobert. Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so we have The Boy and His Dog, which I love, love, love. And then I'd like, well, why don't we just talk about pets and creatures? Since we were talking about dogs, do you have
Yeah.
favorite Stephen King pets, creatures, monsters?
Yeah, I think Kojack probably has it, which is why I so eagerly brought him up in anticipation of that question. Oi as well would be a strong contender. Yeah, those two really just have my heart more than the average dog, which has my heart. So I'll also die on the hill that Cujo is a good boy who is misunderstood. But I feel that's commonplace, which I'm glad.
Very nice. Lovely dog trio there. Very excited. Let's jump to the ladies. We already got a sneak preview of this answer, which I'm very excited
Yeah.
about. Tell me about your favorite Stephen King females.
Okay. So assuming we're accepting merit based off of entertainment and complexity, and not just who we want to be friends with, I'm going to go with Annie Wilkes to start off with.
Nice.
She's so well written and interesting, and she really truly scares me. I take small issue with the baby murdering, but I think it helps in my justification that Paul Sheldon is not in my top five Stephen King males. So yeah, I mean, for the same reason as well, I might be tempted to throw in Margaret White, but I don't want people to think I'm a sympathizer or a psychopath, so I'll move on. I think Donna Trenton is a little underappreciated. I think in terms of symbolism, she really is when we meet her, at least at the start. This every woman who has a monotonous existence and an uninterested husband, and I think when contextualized, we can let the affair slide. She avoids this, I think King really does a good job at avoiding the binary between some hysterical madwoman and some damsel in distress. I think she's just sympathetic and autonomous and normal. and she transcends this idealized final girl and is just normal. And I like that. I think Donna Trenton is a good portrayal of an ordinary, flawed woman in a terrible situation. So that'd be my second pick.
Preach, George.
Okay, yeah, I mean, there we go. I'll go with Beverly Marsh as well, which I mentioned earlier. There's just something inherently intimate, I said earlier, about watching someone come of age. You can't not like any of them, really, I don't think. But Bev not only fights this clown, but she also is a girl in a small town, and which is an obstacle. And there's this at least implied abuse, impending abuse from her father in the background as well. So not only is she is the bravest of the group, I think, which is why I think it's a little bit upsetting that the film makes her look like this damsel in distress. And that's not the case in the book. So Bev Marsh is just, you could probably guess she's on the list. I think she'd be on every list. And I think that's the way it should be. Okay, now I have to think. Goodness me. Lee from Christine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she remains more composed than I would in the face of an evil car. And she is, when I think about it, in direct foil to Christine. Christine is a little bit murderous, obsessive, destructive. Lee's this, she's the opposite. She is sanity and the embodiment of how maybe a relationship should, a more healthy option. I think as well, Christine is a book that's so full of typical man stuff, of like hormones and machinery and combustion. So I think Lee makes the novel a little bit more palatable, a little bit more tolerable. She's an antidote as well as a foil, I suppose. But yeah, she's just unwaveringly rational and responsible, and I appreciate that. So yeah, I think, yeah, she's the antagonist's direct competition. She's the direct rival, so she is the hero of the book, by my logic, in my eyes. And I don't think she gets enough praise from people for that. And then, I mean, I've saved the best to last because I'd be foolish to not include Carrie, right? She is just so interesting. And I think there's precisely zero original things that I could say about Carrie. But I'll just reiterate what's already been said probably 10,000 times on this podcast. But, I mean, having never been a teenage girl, I can't actually vouch for his depiction of it, but I have on good authority from smart friends that it's okay. And there's such empathy and emotion, and I think she's become iconic to the point where I see her in so many books, contemporary horror novels I read. She is the mold for the anti-hero, I think, in today. So my stance I appreciate Carrie because of her influence on the books that I read, because she's well written, and I just think she's an icon. And who doesn't pity Carrie who's read the book?
Oh my God, George, that was a Triple Crown winner question. Oh my God, you get all the prizes. That was so great. We have Donna, we've got Lee. These are two huge underrated females.
I think so.
Yeah, and then we've got Carrie and Bev articulated in such a beautiful way. I loved that. Oh my gosh, so great, George.
Thank you. That's much appreciated. I try.
Oh my gosh, no, it's great. And I think you're so right. I mean, I don't read as much external non-King horror in the past few years. I would like to. I've really done well this year, though. I've bagged them and tagged them this year, George.
What's been your favorite non-King horror this year?
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful question. I have discovered Rachel Harrison this year.
Oh,
I have never felt so seen as a woman of a certain age. I have just adored her prose and her female characters. I think my favorite of hers, gosh, I'm in a vampire zone right now. I really loved So Thirsty, but I love the Return. I think it was her first novel, The Return.
yeah.
I really was feeling Agatha Christie-ish this year, so I finished Riley Sager's The Only One Left, which is very Agatha Christie, very gothic. I love gothic.
Yeah.
Love a gothic story. Brian McCauley's novel, which is a slasher.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the hell out of it. He's such
Good.
a talent. And then, of course, my buddy, my desert brother, Nat Cassidy's When the Wolf Comes Home.
Oh, sensational. I see a lot of King in that, I think. He has the knack for it. And so does Jonathan Janz as well, I think. I see King in both of those authors. Which is what I mean when I talk about the influence of people like Carrie today. I mean, Mary, have you read Mary by Nat?
I haven't. I've been saving it. It's like the little diamond in my pocket, but I'm so excited to read it.
You must.
Jans and Cassie are, well, all the authors mentioned, of course. I wish them astronomical success, but having personally talked to those two, I wish you every success in this life, because not only are you amazing writerly talents, but you are such great people.
Yeah.
To enjoy them as individuals, and in addition to their art, it's truly great.
I really loved the internet's collective rejoice when Nat got his Stephen King blurb at long last.
Wasn't that magic?
It was. Yeah.
Magical day. I know that your Instagram is basically all recommends, George, and I watch each and every single one and I heart every single one. I love your pitch points. I love your plugs. I think you do a great job of selling it to somebody who is a very picky customer. I feel like I have a lot more interest in some of the picks I might not from GeorgesReads account, just so you know. We've got 3 more, I think. Yeah, if my chicken scratch allows. This is the last of our fun questions, and it is asking if you've ever had romantic attraction for a king character, or this could be bromantic attraction to someone you admire as a male that you'd like to be their friend or in their circle. Who are your picks?
Yeah, so I would say Johnny Smith. I mean, I said The Dead Zone was my favorite, and I think Johnny Smith has a lot to do with that. I just like the guy. I'd go for a beer and we'd become best friends. I think Ben as well was a nice kid and is an even better adult. Aside from Bev, who might just have the edge, he's my second favorite. So again, we'd grab a pint, maybe all 3 of us, and it would be a real proper bromance, I think. Yeah.
Very nice. Good call. I like this group. Can I crash?
Absolutely.
Upset your equilibrium of boyness, but I don't care.
It goes without saying you're invited.
Okay, excellent. I am always the girl who will find the quietest people at the bar and want to be their friend.
But I am the quietest person at the bar, so feel free.
I'm crashing your party, George. Get ready.
Glad to hear.
This latest question is asking about a king character you would like to harm, but over the years, I've noticed all the horror lovers out there are surprisingly the most gentle people. Go figure. That's just the rules. They have the biggest hearts ever because they're constantly having this resilience from horrific circumstances in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Fictional horrific circumstances, I should say. This is asking, which king character would you save from a fire and throw into a fire?
I mean, I would save almost every character I've referenced in a positive light today. I mean, Johnny Smith would be my number 1 because I just love the guy and I think he's underappreciated. I would save any animal that King has written. Yeah, there's not, I mean, aside from the actual cartoonish villains, I think I would give it a go. I'd save anyone. But yeah, the flip side of that is Greg Stilson will be left to burn and die. He is switched on upstairs. He knows what he's doing. I hate him. And in fact, I would start the fire in his house. Yeah.
We love arson of our enemies, George.
Absolutely. Yes, I hope none of my professors or anything like that are listening, but I would set Greg Stilson's house on fire.
I will echo that with you times 10. I will absolutely be there supplying you with accelerant and matches.
Good, I'm glad.
Newspaper, whatever we need to kindle more blaze.
We'll get the job done. Yeah.
We will. We'll be very efficient at it. Speaking of efficient, George, this is record.
Wow.
Very sharp. For somebody like myself who I feel sometimes bothers my guests with extra crap, this has been an absolute delight. We have just blazed through them all. I don't know how precious you are about author signatures and if getting a signed copy is a cool thing. So like Neil doesn't care. He talked about he'll just throw his books across the room. Other people are like Neil as well. Or some people are like huge collectors and do care quite a lot.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to get one King book signed, which King book do you think it would be?
Well, as I said, The Dead Zone is my favorite, so that would be a temptation. I mean, people are going to get so bored of me saying The Dead Zone is my favorite, but it is my favorite. if you didn't know. But I think just because it'd be such a full circle moment, I would go with Carrie because it was my first and it was his first, and I'd love a signed Carrie. But if Stephen King would sign my forehead, I would take that. A tax return, any scrap of paper lying around would also do. If he's listening, I'll send you my address. But yeah,
I'm with you. Any scribbling would be fine, even a gum wrapper if there was gum
yeah.
in it. Before we enter into our last question, The Dead Zone is an absolutely precious and very underrated King novel, I believe. And so I want to take like a little spotlight to hear about George's love of The Dead Zone. I want you to plug it. I want you to really sing it from the rooftops because I don't feel it gets enough attention out there, especially for younger readers like yourself, new
hmm
people approaching King. So let's take a quick memento and talk about The Dead Zone.
Okay. If you like Carrie and you like The Shining and you talk all the time about the telekinetic element in the classic King book, guess what? The Dead Zone has it. It's great. There is a compelling romance that you are really, really vouching for. It's painful at times, but it's very, very compelling. And I think the biggest thing it has going for it is what we said earlier. It was written in published in 1979, 1980. It is the most, I would argue, the most apt Stephen King novel that there is. It is so objectively, explicitly is the word I'm looking for, so explicitly political. Most horror novels are, but no punches are pulled with The Dead Zone. It's all about Nixon, but you can very, very easily, it does not take a genius. In fact, it takes a little bit of common sense to transplant it to the year 2025. And I would argue it is even more apt now than it was then. Greg Stilson is a familiar figure, quite disturbingly, and you will hate him with so much rigor. I'm not sure which way around that is. You'll hate him with a lot of passion, and why that might be, I'm sure you'll be able to work out. But yes, The Dead Zone is my favorite book, and it should be yours as well. It will be yours if you read it.
Yay, beautiful. Great job, George. I agree with you. Johnny and Sarah's date at the carnival. This isn't too much of a
Oh,
spoiler at all, but it's at the beginning of that has, granted, I haven't finished my King journey yet either, but I have not yet found any couple meetup date that has been as precious and romantic as Johnny and Sarah's.
yeah. I mean, like, it's not even the first scene. It's very, very close, if not. And it just starts with such a bang, and it doesn't let up ever, I don't think. There's also a great religious element with Johnny Smith's mother that, there's lots of comparisons that can be drawn to Carrie with it, I think. And it has everything going for it. Everything anyone could want is in The Dead Zone.
I agree. Johnny Smith needs to be celebrated and discussed more.
Yeah.
Thank you for encouraging that, George.
Yes.
We have reached our final question. We do already know one of the books on George's
hmm
list, but I did want to ask about your top 5 King titles. It could be a short story collection, novella. It can be anything you want. Which are in your top 5 spot?
I feel, just to present myself as not boring, we'll start with one I've not spoken about already. Spoiler alert, most of them, there's crossover. So Pet Sematary, right? Stephen King says Pet Sematary is his scariest. I'm inclined to agree, I think. Being the thrill seeker that I am, I'm really impressed when a book genuinely scares me, as in keeps me up at night, makes me run from the bathroom back to my bed. And I think Pet Sematary does that quite effectively. And actually, I should have mentioned it when we were talking about endings earlier, because that ending is, I've never recoiled and yet thought an ending was so necessary as I did with Pet Sematary. So yes, I do also enjoy emotionally decimating myself. So you might imagine you can imagine why I might be a fan of Pet Sematary. So that one, it is a very basic answer, but one that I have to throw out there. I love a coming of age story. It's the same reason I love Joyland, which I might, tomorrow I might throw Joyland in this list. It's also near and dear to my heart. But yeah, it is a superb story with an iconic antagonist that has just become so influential that it would be amiss of me to not include it. And it's the same with Carrie. We've spoken about Carrie at length. It's small and so big at the same time, and I think it's one of his best, easily. And then my final pick would have to be Revival. I love religious horror. I love cosmic horror. I love Lovecraftian elements, even though H.P. Lovecraft was not a very nice man. I love that coming of age element again is there with Jamie and sometimes Jacobs too. And the twist, the ending may be a divisive one, but I loved it. I thought it was brave, and there wasn't a literal explosion, so there's some variety there. So yeah, The Dead Zone, Pet Cemetery, It, Revival, and Carrie are my top 5 as of today, right now.
Beautiful list, George. So good. We've got classic, modern, really scary, really cerebral, lots of good influences. That is a solid list.
Well, I feel I should ask yours because we seem to be on a very similar wavelength. So,
We are very close.
where do we cross over?
Very close, sir. We're practically best buddies. So I'm with you. Revival is also in my top 5, as is It. So It and Revival are absolutely up there. Oh, is Joyland in my top 5? I think we'll put it in my top 5 today, just because I've read it so many times. I treasure Joyland. I want to say I always struggle with putting The Green Mile up there. It's like 6th position, but The Green Mile is extraordinary. It shatters my soul. And then, it's always the hardest to pick the last one, of course. We're going to say The Stand. Let's do the two epics. It, The Stand, Revival, Joyland, and I forgot.
Green Mile.
Thank you for your help. The Green Mile.
Yeah.
And that it changes daily, but I know for a fact Revival and It have always been in the top 5.
Yeah, they're good ones. I mean, I agree, as we know. So yes, I'm glad that we are confirmed besties now that our lists overlap.
It's true. I just finished The Stand for the first time last holiday season, and so I'm still in the world of Captain Trips, so I think it's a wonderfully fertile place to be in terms of imagination. And there's the new short story collection I'm still making my way through, so I think that It and The Stand keep nourishing with repeated reads. They keep giving back to the reader, especially as we age. For those reasons, we'll always be in the top 5.
Have you read Mr. Jans's story in that anthology yet?
Yes, and I cried.
I'll tell you what, it is the only story I've read in that anthology because I kept hearing it would make me cry, and I was like, well, we'll see about that. And then it made me cry. So, yeah, fair play, Jonathan Jans. You devious man. Yes, it's great. I have high hopes for the rest of it. Yeah.
He got me good. He got us both.
Yeah.
I haven't shed a tear for any other story. I've smiled a lot at a lot of the stories, but I haven't shed a tear to any other but Mr. Jan. So he's got a winning story there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that would be, it's such a great list of authors. I think contemporary horror-wise, you can just work off of that for the foreseeable future. Read some Al Nakatsu would be my main suggestion.
I'm very excited. I just finished my first, forgive me, I don't know if it's Katrina or Catriona. I finished Looking Glass Sound.
I hoped it would be that one, yes.
Very cool.
I received a copy 2 weeks ago of her upcoming one, Nowhere Burning, and I am so excited. I think it's going to be great. It is a Peter Pan kind of thing, from what I can gather. But I've not read it yet, so I will report back to you. But yeah, she is amazing.
I was thrilled by reading her story. It was very cool, very trippy. I did like that a lot. And then I just read in the Stand anthology V. Castro. So a lot of readers have been reaching out telling me to check out V. Castro because she does some stuff with evil ladies and dark goddesses, and I'm totally there.
Yeah, I've read a while ago, I think it's called Goddess of Filth. It's only small, but that's a good one.
She's on my radar. I'm very, very excited to check her out. But now that we have finished our Stephen King questions, I did want to close out with George. We are reporting to you live from Spooky Month. So even though George's channel is consistently bringing forth great recommendations, because he's my VIP guest, if you could please let the folks out there know about what you recommend they read for Spooky Month.
Yes. The minute someone asks me for a recommendation specifically for Halloween, I tell them Dead Leaves by Keelan Patrick Burke. which is amazing. Keelan Patrick Burke generally is pretty good. Sour Candy is a very, very short novella he has that might be a better place to start ordinarily, but Dead Leaves for October is the best. I think for autumn generally, The Invited by Jennifer McMahon is a wonderful dual timeline ghost story, but a really scary one. If you're looking for just something that will genuinely scare you, which I enjoy, despite the fact they're few and far between, 8114 by Joshua Hull will do that. It is based on his actual childhood home, which makes it far, far scarier. And I've been talking about this book, which came out in August, since the August before that. So I'm glad it's out, and I implore you to read it. And then the last one I'll do is Seed by Anya Olborn, which also terrified me and kept me up at night. If you're looking to spend Halloween night actually scared, and for whatever reason you don't want to watch a film, Seed by Anya Olborn will do that. It will keep you up at night. It is cinematic and visceral and has a demon in it. Possession scares me. So that is that.
Oh, George, oh my gosh. I'm so glad I have this recorded so I could go back and write these down.
Well, normally I get to retake them and edit them and trim them down, but I hope I did okay. It's my first live one.
Beautiful job. I think you already have the succinctness hardwired into you. It's perfect.
It is. Yeah.
Once you do it for a while, you know exactly what you need to say in the short amount of time that you need to say. I think you're already firing on all cylinders. That was great. It was perfect.
Thank you very much.
So I do have a recommend for you. You may have checked it out because you are a horror connoisseur, so you probably have sought out 1408 by Mr. Stephen King. Have you read that one yet?
I don't think I have.
Yay! Okay, so this is my spooky recommendation for you. 1408 by Stephen King. It is found within the Everything's Eventual short story collection. I'm actually going to pull the book right out and show you. This is the US hardcover, of course, so it might look a little different. Inside that collection, which is from the late 90s, I believe. Long story short, George, it's about this guy named Mike Enslin who's going to the Dolphin Hotel in New York City to stay in room 1408 because he is a ghost adventurer, but he doesn't believe. He is a non-believer. All I will say, Mr. George, is that 1408 is the only Stephen King short story that shakes me up. This one messes me up. I get really freaked out. My heart starts pounding. I get sweaty palms. I get really, really skittish. This is the only one. 1408 by Stephen King. I think you'll like it, and you should tell me how you feel.
I think I will like it too. Everything's Eventual is one of the collections I haven't got to yet, and I want to, so I will. I will do it this Halloween, actually, I think, and I will report back.
It's a great collection, lots of gems. The other one I think you'll also really enjoy is the very first story in the collection called The Man in the Black Suit. That is another one that might scare you, but it's so beautifully written. I think you'll just be really appreciative of the prose.
Okay, I will try and listen to this back without cringing, and I will note them down. Yes, I will read them both, and I will let you know.
Yeah, okay. You have done amazing. Thank you so very much. Before we stop and go back to our lives, can you remind everybody out there where they can find all your stuff?
Yes, I am at GeorgesReads. I am probably the funnest on TikTok and Instagram. I'm there. I'm also on BlueSky and Threads if you care. I have a Spotify podcast called it's everywhere you get your podcasts. It's called The Terrorium, which is what I named my newsletter, and I've realised since it's much less cooler when you have to say it out loud, but there you go. That's on Substack as well, and then Fanfi Addict is where I post all of my full-length reviews. I try and do 2 or 3 a week, and they are there. So yeah, that's me.
Beautiful. I am such a fan, George. Thank you for all of your content and your recommendations and your allegiance to horror fiction. I know you've got a lot of fans out there, but this was such a joy to chat with you. So thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me and for your service to horror, and Stephen King specifically. He should put you on his payroll. Yes, thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, George. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, good people. That concludes my lovely time with Mr. George Dunn from GeorgesReads. I loved that. Did you love that? I hope so. Thank you so much to George. Huge hugs to you. Let us all wish George a nice and as stress-free as possible rest of the fall term. I hope the lectures aren't dismal, I hope the homework isn't abysmal, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the semester. For those of you who are not familiar with GeorgesReads, please make sure you type it in, all one word, into your social media account of choice and give George a follow. His reader knowledge is amazing. He's the best book hype man. Make it happen, everyone. You will love. All right, dear ones, happy times and busy times are ahead now that the new Welcome to Derry miniseries began last week. I'm gearing up to watch episode 2, The Thing in the Dark, this evening with a bag or two of fun-sized Snickers in my lap. I also like candy corn. There might be 1 or 2 ingested. I don't care if you think it tastes like wax, it's delicious. After I watch, I'll be recording my thoughts on the episode of Welcome to Derry for the Patreon, The Dance Macabre with Kim C. And then, oh my god, I'm so excited to say this next sentence, I will be diving deeper, going very subdermal, as a matter of fact, with Scott Daly from Kingslingers on our collective impression of the episode. I can't believe it! Kim C got a co-hosting gig. We had a huge blast on the first episode. I was very nervous, so hopefully I'll be a bit more relaxed and much more contained going forward. But it's so hard, my guys. Listeners out there know, hopefully you all know, and can hear, that when Kim C talks about Stephen King with the Stephen King community, well, my highest self comes through. You're getting my best and brightest. My most joyful, excitable, and interested self is on that microphone. And it might be a bit much for the quiet ones who like a more reserved delivery, and that is very much okay if I'm not your cup of tea. There are other Stephen King podcasts than these. But hopefully, if you're new to the Kim C experience, maybe I'll grow on you the tiniest bit. Until then, thank you all so very much for listening. Feel free to give the show a review, and if you haven't said hello yet and would like to, please email me at underratedsk@gmail.com, and you could also reach me on the socials. I'm on Threads and Instagram the most. Feel free to also check out patreon.com/dancewithkimc for additional Stephen King podcast coverage on short stories, King on film, as well as Stephen King females. And for the next few weeks, you can also find me in the wonderful co-host spot with Scott Daly from Kingslingers as we dissect the new Welcome to Derry miniseries on HBO. I hope you watch with us and listen in and have a great time. Thank you all so very much. Enjoy this Halloween and the Dia de los Muertos weekend. I hope there's candy involved, nice memories, good weather, and the spookiest books and films you can get your hands on. Take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.